by Mr. Ndaba Mandela, Pan-African Youth Council Vice President, as well as Mr. Malam Issa Ausumana. He's from Niger, a member of parliament there, and also a chairman of Caucus on Youth. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us once again.
Thank you.
Let's zone in on that now. Young people, we're seeing both the positive and the negative come to the fore. My key concern is unemployment. When you have nothing to do and no way of sustaining yourself, one can quickly degenerate into animal-like tendencies. How do we plan on addressing youth unemployment as a continent?
I think that the first, there is 2-3 ways to see this issue of unemployment. The first is the politicians have to give good education to young person. Because if we are not well educated, if we don't get skills and other capacities, we won't be able to look for our job, which is something very important in everyone's life. And after education, what they have to do, the leaders have, I think, to do the best to create some area, special area, creating employment, some program, very, very good programs through agriculture. Why not? We have to make some big program in the agriculture sector to create industry, but because what is not normal in our continent is that industry is not well developed. We have a lot of natural resources, but we are not creating factories. We are not transforming our own natural resource in our continents. We have always to send them outside and it will become as final products. I think that is not good. If we want to keep our young people in our countries, we have to create employment in our country. The third thing is also for the young people. We don't have always to stay and ask for the leaders. We have to see by ourselves what we can do. If I study in management, I don't have to say that I have to go and work in a bureau. I would like to see what is available at the moment to do it before to get the right job for my own education, for my own skills. I think that is also the way we have to. It is not also normal, I think. That's why I'm doing politics. It's not normal to say that politics is not good and to look the others doing it. We have to make us concerned by the issues of politics, to make politics as everybody, because the big decisions are taken there. The big decisions about women, about young people, about everything in our life is done by those who are acting in politics. So why we stay away and look for the others doing politics? We have to be concerned and to do the best way to take decisions for ourselves.
You touch on issues of employment, but we can't neglect employability. You know, one must be able to carry skills and resources and be literate, etc. So you touched on education, but also that aspect of entrepreneurship. Conditions, that entrepreneurship spirit, innovation among young people. Are we being prepared adequately enough to be employed? And that speaks to our education system. And are we being given the skills that we need to be your Mark Zuckerbergs of this world and to be Forbes' list of young billionaires, etc.? Are we being trained adequately enough, in your opinion?
I think there are a few initiatives taking place, but I don't think it's being done because we have an issue on a mass scale. We need to find a way in which we can actually channel the youth to go through this on a massive scale, because when you look at the rural areas, when you look at the township areas, these are really the key areas that need to be addressed. And that is where the majority of the population live. And those areas are really underserviced in terms of having incubation hubs, you know, where people can be taught how to become entrepreneurs, how to become more innovative, how to access the digital economy. Those areas, for me, are being underserviced. And when you look at your urban areas, there are a couple of initiatives, especially even private initiatives, where, you know, whether it's the Branson School or another gentleman that I know who runs the Way to Project, which is also an entrepreneurship incubation, you know, been taken on. But when you look at government, are they turning enough youth through the system? No, they're not.
Mm-hmm. Now, perhaps a way that one can address all of that, because you speak about the incubators, but one needs to look at generational poverty and cyclical poverty, and whether or not we're grooming another generation of youngsters who are going to be applying for RDP houses in the next 20, 30 years, God forbid. And how do we then interject, and abruptly so, that cycle of poverty so as to create a new generation of South Africans who are not dependent on government just for housing or resources? How do we do that?
I mean, obviously, I think the solution is twofold. Education is the key, but of course, education takes time. So the other way we can do that is by actually giving the youth technical skills that they can use. You know, being a plumber, being an electrician, those kind of skills are the things that people need. Unfortunately, when you look at the people that have really been able to turn society, the engine of society, it's not necessarily your political leaders, but it's more your middle class. It's more the technicians, So these are the skills that you have to impart onto schools. So yes, we have FET colleges, but how many people are actually going through the FET colleges, getting certificates, and actually now going into jobs or starting businesses that are actually being able to be measured to see what is the success rate? And okay, these are the measures, this is the analysis, how can we make that better? Because I know there's a number of FET colleges across the country, but what are the results? How are we measuring that, and how are we making those results better?
And are we being competitive when it comes to the global stage? Mr. Chairman, I'm seeing you nodding away there at one or two of the points. What would you like to add?
Yes, I would like to say what is right for South Africa is right for all the other countries in Africa. It's a reality that poverty is here. But I think that there is a big question, as we ask in French, between the egg and the kitchen, which one is the first? Is the poverty provoke the unemployment of young people, or the unemployment young people who resign to work, who resign to entrepreneurship, provoke poverty? That's the question. I think that we have, as we say it, he's okay with me, we have to take care about education first. Development of skills, technical capacity, as he said it. It's the best way to develop the human resource. The best way to develop economically a country is to develop the human resource. That's the key, and we have to work on it.
And also the caliber of education. Are we making sure that it's on par with where the world is going today? Everything is becoming digital, it's becoming technologically savvy, etc. So my question is, are we teaching young people not to be consumers and always asking for aid and looking towards the West, but creating industries in our continent? We can't be relying on your raw minerals, etc. for long. We have to start seeing where the world is going and how we can compete. Are we teaching such to our young people?
I think that the example of Rwanda is a very, very good example, because in Rwanda, at the primary school, every young people can use computer. That's indispensable for us to adapt ourselves to the environment. Today, you can't be a good manager, you can't be a good teacher, you can't be a good journalist without using these technologies. So I think that every country, if an African country, must see the way to introduce those technologies in the education. Every country must see the way to introduce other skills. I think that is not only the technologies we are using now. We have to see the way to adapt the education program today to the reality of our continent, to the reality of the world. That's the way, I think.
Would you see that as a possible key to unlock the answers to some of the social ills that we're seeing prevalent among young people, teenage pregnancies, drugs and alcohol abuse? Do you feel that perhaps if we were to channel them more to an academic or technical way of thinking and working and employment, that perhaps would solve some of the social ills?
Of course, because, I think that all those diseases, SIDA, VHA, SIDA, and the war. In our country, we are now facing a very, very bad war against Boko Haram. What Boko Haram did in Nigeria is to get some young people who are unemployed and to give them $500 or less than half $500 to make them become warriors without knowing how to use the gun is something very bad. I think that if there is some good programs in Nigeria for young people, a very good education for them, some very good programs, education and private activity for them, it won't accept $500 to go and kill themselves. It's something.
Radicalization of young people. We also know on social media, many of them are traveling to join the likes of ISIS, etc., for those reasons that you have mentioned. But perhaps in closing, you're a young man yourself. What would you like to say to youngsters on the continent on how we can conduct ourselves and where we should be looking towards and where our priorities should lie?
I think, as the youth, we need to understand that freedom comes with responsibilities. And as we have responsibilities, our responsibility is to play an active role in being active citizens in developing our economy.
Indeed, and they're also trying to make it look attractive, because some of them will think, oh, being a farmer, but you need to be able to see the benefits there. Green economy, the ocean economy, also beneficiation in mining. That's how we need to start channeling our thinking as young people.
92 people have been killed in a mudslide that has wreaked havoc in the Salga municipality of northwest Colombia's Antioquia department, and that's according to local authorities. The mudslide took place after heavy rains caused a nearby river to burst its banks. The Colombian government immediately sent out forces to start rescue operations. The rescue forces managed to save a baby in a river when searching victims in the disaster area. An 11-month-old